Good morning, everyone. It's getting close to noon here on the 29th of January, Wednesday. And Mark's been reading through the Gospels. He's been reading through the Gospel of John. We're going to be going into the 18th chapter of John today. And this is the account of leading up to actually when Judas, after he had betrayed him, we see what happened. They fell backward to the ground, and Jesus said, "Let these go. I'm he." And Simon Peter, of course, drew the sword and smote the high priest's servant, cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Jesus told Peter to put up his sword. He says, "The cup which the Father hath given me, shall I not drink it?" Then a band of the captain and officers and Jews took Jesus and bound him and led him away to Annas first, for he was the father-in-law to Caiaphas, which was the high priest. Caiaphas gave counsel to the Jews that it was expedient that one should die for the people. And we see how Peter followed him afar off, and how he was accused of being one of Jesus' disciples, and how he denied it. And the high priest asked Jesus about his doctrine, and Jesus told him that he taught openly in the synagogue and not hid anything from what he believed or what he was setting forth. And then one of the officers stood by, struck Jesus with the palm of his hand, and Annas sent him bound unto Caiaphas, the high priest. Again, we see that Peter denied again. Immediately the cock crew. They led Jesus from Caiaphas into the hall of judgment. Pilate went down and said, "What accusation bring ye against this man?" They said, Jesus asked him if he was the king of the Jews, and Jesus said, "Sayest thou this thing of thyself, or did others tell thee?" Pilate said, "Am I a Jew? Thine own nation and the chief priest have delivered thee unto me. What hast thou done?" Jesus told him his kingdom was not of this world. And he did say that, "I am a king, to this end was I born, for this cause came I in the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth." And then Pilate mocked him, saying, "What is truth?" And like I've always said, truth was standing right in front of Pilate, because Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life," right? And so then Pilate said, "I should release unto you one at Passover. Will therefore I release you the king of the Jews?" And they said, "Not this man, but Barabbas." And Barabbas was a robber. So they asked Pilate to release a robber in place of the Son of God. And that's what people do, isn't it? They rob God's glory and replace it with a robber, and exalt a robber. Well, I'm going to turn this over to Mark and have him read this entire chapter. I hope you have a blessed afternoon.
John chapter 18. When Jesus had spoken these words, he went forth into his disciples over the brook Kidron, where was a garden, into the which he entered, and his disciples. Judas also, which betrayed him, knew the place, for Jesus oftentimes resorted thither with his disciples. Judas then, having received a band of men and so opposite Judas then, having received a band of men, officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, cometh thither with lanterns and torches and weapons. Jesus therefore, knowing all things what should come upon him, went forth and said unto them, Whom seek ye? They answered him, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus saith unto them, I am he. And Judas also, which betrayed him, stood with them. As soon then as he had said unto them, I am he, they went backward and fell to the ground. Then asked he them again, Whom seek ye? And they said, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus answered, I have told you that I am he. If therefore you seek me, let these go their way, that the saying might be fulfilled which he spake of them, which thou gavest me, have I lost none. And Simon Peter, having his sword, drew it, and smote the high priest's servant, and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Then said Jesus unto Peter, Put up thy sword into the sheath. The cup which my Father hath given me, shall I not drink it? And the band, the captain, and the officers of the Jews took Jesus and bound him, and led him away to Annas first, who was father-in-law to Caiaphas, which was a high priest that same year. And of Caiaphas was he which gave counsel to the Jews that it was expedient that one man should die for the people. Simon Peter followed Jesus, and so did another disciple. The disciple was known of the high priest, and went in with Jesus in the palace of the high priest. But Peter stood at the door without. Then went out that other disciple, which was known to the high priest, and spake unto her that kept the door, and brought in Peter. Then saith the damsel that kept the door unto Peter, Art not thou also one of this man's disciples? He saith, I am not. And the servants and officers stood there, who had made a fire of coals, for it was cold, and they warmed themselves. And Peter stood within and warmed himself. The high priest had asked Jesus of his disciples and of his doctrine. Jesus answered him, I spake openly to the world. I ever taught in the synagogue and in the temple, whether the Jews always resort in secret, have I said nothing. Why askest thou me? Ask them which heard me, what I have said unto them. Behold, they know what I said. And when he had thus spoken, one of the officers which stood by struck Jesus with the palm of his hand, saying, Answerest thou the high priest so? Jesus answered him, If I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil, but if well, why smitest thou me? Now Annas had sent him bound unto Caiaphas the high priest, and Simon Peter stood and warmed himself. They said therefore unto him, Art not thou also one of his disciples? He denied it, and said, I am not. One of the servants of the high priest, being his kinsman, whose ear Peter cut off, saith, Did not I see thee in the garden with him? Peter then denied again, and immediately the cock crew. Then led they Jesus from Caiaphas unto the hall of judgment, and it was early, and they themselves went not into the judgment hall, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the Passover. Pilate then went out unto them and said, What accusation bring ye against this man? They answered and said unto him, If he were not a malefactor, we would not have delivered him up unto thee. Then said Pilate unto them, Take ye him and judge him according to you law. But Jesus therefore said to him, Is it not lawful for us to put any man to death? The saying of Jesus might be fulfilled, which he spake, signifying what death he should die. Then Pilate entered into the judgment hall again, and called Jesus, and said to him, Art thou the King of the Jews? Jesus answered him, Sayest thou this thing of thyself, or did others tell thee of me? Pilate answered, Am I a Jew? Thine own nation and chief priest have delivered thee unto me. What hast thou done? Jesus answered, My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence. Pilate therefore said unto him, Art thou a king then? Jesus answered, Thou sayest that I am a king. To this end was I born, and to this cause came I into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Every one that is of the truth heareth my voice. Pilate saith unto him, What is truth? And when he had said this, he went out again unto the Jews, and saith unto them, I find in him no fault at all, but ye have a custom that I shall release unto you one at the Passover. Will ye therefore that I release unto you the King of the Jews? And cried they all again, saying, Not this man, Barabbas. Now Barabbas was a robber.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Hope you all have a blessed day.